Hello, Holy Hour listeners. Just wanted to kick off this episode by offering up my audio editing skills to you. If you've been wanting to start up a podcast of your own but are holding back because of all the hassles with editing and mixing, then I'm your man. All you'd have to do is record the content you want, then send it on over to me and I'll cut out all the ums and tighten the gaps, make your segues nice and smooth and keep all the voices nice and balanced, and even add in a little background music if you'd like, all at a reasonable rate. And if I can make my thoughts sound coherent, then imagine what I could do for you. Doesn't even have to be a music podcast. Whatever you're into, you can finally make that all Beanie Baby podcast that you've been dying to do. I'm here to help. So if you're even slightly curious, just drop me an email at gavinconnor@gmail.com and we can sort out all the battle plans and details from there. But let's get on with some Cure Talk now. Thanks for listening. Hello and welcome to the Holy Hour podcast. It's the bi-weekly All Cure podcast. I'm Gavin. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a wonderful episode for you guys today. We have a couple of great origin tales to share with you. We'll be talking with our new buddy Tom Burns, who'll be joining me for a conversation to not only share his origin tale, but also to keep the live show hype going as we talk about our dream set list and what would be our ideal dream set list for the Cure shows, and also our nightmare set lists and a couple other scenarios of dream/nightmare situations. So it was a fun, lovely conversation with Tom Burns, and we also got a contribution of an origin tale from longtime listener and supporter of the show, Jeff Cortland Jones. Jeff is an amazing artist and all-around cool dude, so let's hear how the Cure first entered his world. Do you remember the first time you ever realized, really understood that something was art? I do. And it was the night that changed my life. It was a sweaty, hot, early summer night in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, 1987, and I was 13 years old. My best friend Tony and I had spent the entire day out skateboarding, pretending we were the Bones Brigade. I was always Steve Caballero. We thought we were so rad with our Dead Kennedys and Minor Threat t-shirts and haircuts that asymmetrically fell over our right eyes. We were punk. Well, as punk as 13-year-olds could be in East Tennessee. We knew all the lyrics to the Dead Milkmen's Bitchin' Camaro and would recite them on cue. In hindsight, we were the biggest dorks anyone had ever seen. Well, that evening, Tony's cousin Ashley was visiting from Dallas. She was 16, beautiful, and goth. Jet black hair and nails, blood red lips with powdered white complexion, dressed for a black celebration. I had never seen a goth in person, and I was in love. I'm sure she was forced to hang out with us that night, so to fend off her boredom, she took control. The three of us sat on the shagged carpet floor in his basement with the lights down low. She pulls out a small stack of records and proceeds to put one on. What came out of the speakers was sheer horror. It was terrible. At first I thought my ears would bleed. This guy was moaning over and over, something about walking away in silence, silence and danger, confusion, illusion, and more silence. For as bad as it was, there was something intriguing. It was like when you drive past a really severe car crash. You know you shouldn't slow down to look, but you can't help not to. I had to know what this was. I asked for the sleeve and she hands me a white square with a small, slightly top-off center photograph of a snow-covered landscape right at the edge of a forest. The field of the snow was pierced with blades of grass in the horizon, and it had a subtle curve to it. And all of a sudden, it made sense. The moans weren't moans, but rather honest feelings of loneliness and isolation. I felt the coldness and the despair. I understood walking away in silence. That was the first time I knew what art was. When that record was over, she put on another, knowing the bewitching power she now had over us. This time, the sound wasn't so strange. Maybe I was already numb. It was more alive. Was this me now feeling something stronger than "fuck you, Ronald Reagan"? There was the driving bass line rumbling through the darkened basement. It was her voice calling my name, so deep in the dark. Into the trees, into the trees. I'm lost, all alone, and she was never there. I grabbed the sleeve. I had to see into the trees. Another square, black, with a full bleed photograph of the same forest as the one before, but closer, and seen from the inside, and lost. Punk no longer was punk. This was so foreign, yet so familiar, and from that moment forward we were disciples. Jello Biafra and Ian Mackay were replaced by the patron saints of Ian Curtis and Robert Smith. Morrissey, Martin Gore, Elizabeth Fraser. The next week, Ashley went back home, and I never saw her again. Stone white, so delicate. Tony bought Standing on a Beach on cassette and dubbed me side A. It's the only thing we heard the rest of the summer. And so the fall came, 13 years, shining ring. How could I forget her name? All right, thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing that and for writing it so wonderfully, painting the whole picture for us. I love it. It literally has everything I love in there. Bones Brigade, The Cure, Young Love, even Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I have a strong personal connection to. I'll spare you guys all the detail of that. But thank you, Jeff. That was wonderful. We're going to continue on with the Origin Tales here as we check out my conversation with Tom Burns all the way from the UK. Fellow Patreon member like Jeff Cortland Jones. So let's see how it all started for Tom here on the Holy Hour Podcast. How's it going, Tom?
It's going good. Good to be here.
Right on. Glad to have you. Tom is not only a contributor from the, you guys might remember him out there from contributing from the Euro 22 tour episodes. You were on the, I think it was the finale episode there we had for the tour wrap up. You had attended the Glasgow and 2 Wembley shows. Am I correct? Was that the?
Yeah, the last 2 Wembley shows in Glasgow, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so right off the bat, thank you so much for the contributions with that. It was definitely cool getting firsthand accounts and hearing from the trenches out there of what it was really like for all of us envious people back here stranded in their homes. so thank you. And you're also a Patreon member, so awesome to have you in that club and on the show here. So thank you very much. So I don't know if you've been following all the drama that's been going on, but you just
it's one of those things where I'm happy for everyone that gets to actually go to any of the shows in the States, but just the absolute nightmare of it just sounds just complete stress.
Right on. Yeah, it's probably like a little bit of a relief for people that weren't planning on like international travel or anything. You see like this kind of shit going down and it kind of takes a little of the envy factor out of it, like there was like, wasn't there like some kind of strikes going on or something around the London shows last year, and a few people were talking about those kind of things, and I was just like, oh, actually for me that just that would have stressed me out way too much. It's good I'm not involved. so hopefully. But
there was snow strikes. It was just everything.
Yeah, whole
All
perfect.
at once.
Yeah, seems like that happens everywhere now. I guess maybe we all have our catastrophes that surround these tickets and shows and events and everything, pandemics and all kinds of great stuff. But yeah, so at least here in the U.S., we're doing our part to make everybody else not feel bad about traveling over here and trying to get tickets and all that stuff. But I think it's starting to sort out. I'm sure there's about 20 more wrinkles that are going to happen before, the whole thing kicks off in May. But yeah. So yeah, no international travel for you then. You're not going to fly on over. You got your fill for a little bit.
No, it's tempting.
Yeah.
If I had the money to do that.
Yeah, that's the catch.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy that it's finally actually been announced, because it's been, a long time of, I don't know why they announced it like 3 times before the dates actually came.
They were real good at teasing us, aren't they? Just keep the momentum going. But yeah, it was a little bit cruel, it's just like news is coming, news that the news was coming, and then finally you get news. So yeah, pretty crazy. But so these 3 shows that you did see in the Euro tour there last winter and fall, I guess it started. Were those your first 3 shows seeing The Cure first time, or?
No, they were. I'd seen them 3 times before.
Okay.
But they were all separate years that time. This is the first time I've been able to do multiple shows in one tour. So it was great to like double the amount of times I've seen them.
Right on. Once, I remember you saying that. Now that I've jotted it down here. Cool. So yeah, you did have a few before that. So maybe we should backtrack then, and we'll bleed those into your actual origin story. We thought that would be a cool way to do this episode, as we do here on the Holy Hour. We love to hear how it all started for people and fans, and we'll go through the whole origin story. And then we got a little activity at the end of dream and nightmare scenarios that we will share with the listeners, since it ties into live shows with The Cure. So buckle up, everybody out there. This is going to be a good one. So where did it start, Tom? Did it... I guess, what was the time frame and going on in your life when this band first entered your head?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we mentioned that we talk about is kind of what was your music taste before The Cure.
Yeah.
And, looking back, I can't say I listened to many of the bands before The Cure. I don't listen to many of them still now. So it feels like The Cure were kind of this beginning of like this explosion of discovering music, and I guess it's strange because obviously The Cure, so that's kind of the earliest, so it's not just that they are my favorite band, they're also kind of the earliest band that still that I still love this much. So I think I was about 13, 14 when I first got into The Cure. There was quite a few opportunities that, unfortunately, because of certain circumstances, weren't able to see them live. I mean, things like the Reflections shows and the Albert Hall ones, and like the Teenage Cancer Trust shows they did in London, which I know they were quite hard to get tickets for anyway, but they were ones, so I wasn't able to see them until 2016. Was my first show on that tour. I think when I first heard them, I think looking back, I think I can remember seeing a bit of Friday I'm in Love on the TV, but it was just the end of it, and although I'd love to be able to say it was love at first sight or love at first listen, I for some reason it didn't happen that quickly. But I think it must have been just that same year or just a couple months later that I think Lullaby was the first one that I saw that just immediately sort of sent me down that rabbit hole of looking for everything. And I think it helped because, my music taste was quite a lot heavier when I was younger, which I think it is for a lot of people. And they kind of get into The Cure as like something quite different. But I think Lullaby it has that aesthetic where if you've been into like metal or something when you were younger, you sort of see
Right.
the Cure. It's completely different, like in terms of the music, but there is something about the like dark aesthetic of it that's
For sure.
appealing.
Yeah, especially the
Um,
video clip there. So, has all the darkness and the looks like a little horror show going on. So
yeah, yeah. So it was all kind of that era, and sort of Disintegration. I think was the first sort of album I had, which is currently now my favorite album.
right on.
But at the time, there was just yeah, just kept changing all the
Did
time.
you
Really, as
seek
a
it out yourself, or did you have like a friend or sibling that said, "Hey," kind of nudged it in your way, or after seeing that video, you kind of just
yeah, it was just finding it.
yeah,
It was a surprising thing because I found this band, and I think obviously because I'm in sort of the younger side of the fan base, you have a
mm-hmm.
lot of people who could kind of say, "Oh, I really wish I could have been on the prayer tour and things." And it's like, well, I
Yeah,
wish I could have gone on the Dream tour. So
yeah,
it's like I'll get even more to be envious about. But yeah, when when I first was listening to them and getting obsessed with them,
right.
parents weren't into them. My brother wasn't really into them. There was like no one at school that was
Yeah, I
into
was
them, so
gonna
it was like it was a strange thing, but it was just it was good in a way because it kind of felt like I don't know that you had
secret
some sort of
club.
superpower of being
Yeah,
able to
yeah.
appreciate them.
Yeah, it's
Like
funny because when I hear these stories, there is a little bit of like two sides to that. Like, because I kind of got in early enough, more by chance when I was younger, like right before disintegration. And so it was still very kind of secret club feeling. And I just lived kind of out in the sticks. So, like, nobody was really, it was just a little kind of group of skaters that we knew that, like The Cure, had seen them in the magazines or whatever. But it was, even that, it was like a group of like 6 or 8 at the most. So it totally felt like our exclusive little club. And then by like Wish, it definitely blew up more. Or they still wasn't everywhere by any means, but you would see the
yeah,
shirts occasionally in the tape stores and stuff like that a bit more, and it became kind of a thing. But then I wondered, yeah, like with younger fans now, has it gotten almost to that point again where it's kind of like, who's this band? And especially pre, I don't know, since they've been touring a little bit more since like 2016 and stuff, it's probably popped up. But there's probably a good run of years there where they're pretty elusive again to the younger kids. So that's cool. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? It's like it's good in a way, but at the same time, you sometimes frustrated that you're like, why doesn't more people know this
Yeah.
band? Um, and yeah,
Are,
definitely I've gotten people into them over the years, and I have met people now, and my current girlfriend, met her, and she already liked the Cure, um,
cool.
which was a good sign
Yeah.
for the
It's
relationship.
always good.
Um, so yeah, but yeah, back. I don't know if it was just yeah that era. Maybe it was just particularly they weren't really in the public eye much for younger
Yeah.
fans. But I mean, when you go to the concerts now, and I do speak to a lot of people that they have got quite a good mix, especially at the shows. It
Yeah.
seems it's definitely one of the biggest sort of spreads I think of like
Yeah.
ages that I've seen actually at concerts. There's usually concerts I go to. Usually they lean more towards
One
like one
side or the,
generation or the
yeah,
other.
totally. Yeah, I either get there and I'm like, man, I'm old now. Like everybody at the show is just somebody like me that's like hanging out or on the sides and the back, and then you have the occasional show where it's like a younger band, and I get there and I'm like, why isn't anybody in the bathroom? Like, oh wait, nobody can drink. It's like, what is going on at this show? It's just little weird tip off things like that. But yeah, even in 2016, I recall like it just being tons of like extreme age gaps, and people bringing their kids, like I'll be doing on this next one and stuff. They got their little kid and they're trying to get them done in there, and then just teenagers, and then you have the diehard long term fans that are like, I was there in 1980, like, holy shit, awesome. so so yeah, pretty cool. And I guess that keeps going, so it's pretty nice that it's got a wide range of everybody. So, did you I guess as far as the visual and the audio appeal, then you said from the lullaby video and stuff, so you kind of went into it at that point. Was there any, I guess what I'm getting at is the initial appeal, was it more the dark kind of persona of Robert, or the actual music that got you more, or a little combo?
Yeah, it kind of just probably developed, but thinking back, it probably was um, yeah, a combination of those things. But I think as it sort of developed, there's just a sense of like Robert Smith's, just the emotion that he gets across in his voice and also
Yeah.
in the music. It was just kind of just felt like this completely new thing that I'd never really discovered before.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were obviously other bands I got into sort of through them, and sort of I think that kind of opened, like it just sort of opened the door,
Yeah.
because it is so expressive. And I think the other thing with the Cure's music is, yeah, they've got the darker songs, the sadder songs, and the happier like pop moments. But even within a song that can be quite dark, like just off the top of my head, like Faith,
Mm-hmm.
which I say quite dark, it's probably one of the
Yeah.
darkest
Yeah.
songs. But even that, I can listen to that in a good mood and a bad mood, and
Yeah.
they both it's kind of comforting either way. And I don't know what it is necessarily, but the way they sort of convey the emotion and kind of, yeah, it's like it's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but they do sort of seem to be kind of malleable. Like no matter how you
True.
feel their mood, it kind of works.
Yeah, I love it. And it's at the when I try to strip it down at the most, I kind of always just credit it as great writing, and it is just, he's got such a good knack for, like you're saying with something like Faith, but that bass line's so catchy, it's not like, you could just be like boom and it'd be like super dark and just atmospheric, like a lot of bands, that are still really cool, but there's something about like just the way that melody flows and stuff. You could totally re-record that in some peppy melody or something, and it would be a pop song,
Yeah,
really. But it's like, I think that's why he was able to hit that gear and still does, and he can go back and forth because it really is just catchy, whether it be the riffs or the vocal melody or any of that stuff. It really can just, it's fucking tough to do, it's like not an easy thing. Most bands just kind of find their niche and, like, we're just gonna be sad bastards and ride it, or we're just gonna be a pop band, so it's pretty impressive, I think. So so yeah,
yeah,
I think that is, especially getting into them and stuff early on when you see the different sides of all of it, so did you lean
yeah.
pretty much one way from the start, and have you stayed that way, or?
No, I think to begin with, actually, I think even though Disintegration was like the starting point, I probably moved on to some of the other. I think Wish was my favorite album for quite a while, actually,
Yeah.
and Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. So it did go in those sort of different directions, and but yeah, as it's sort of gone on, I could say like the darker eras are probably my favorite now, but
Yeah.
I still kind of love all the sort of shades of them. I think, yeah, it is interesting that it's having it all at once, having the whole spectrum all at once
Yeah.
is yeah, it is a kind of different experience of kind of just being overwhelmed of how much stuff there is, but it's
Yeah.
so good
Yeah.
having so much to just dig in when you discover a band like that have got
Yeah.
so many
So
albums. And
yeah, I'm assuming the initial love kicked in post 2008 then. So you got all the albums pretty much. So
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. And I always like to ask, in this day and age in particular, like, did you have a strategy for searching through the back catalog, or you just kind of dabble in each one as they came up on whatever format?
yeah, I think it was just sort of going through and buying CDs, and I think um, Yeah, it's funny trying to think back as to
Yeah, it's
specifically
hard
why I
to.
picked one up. If it was to do with album art, or I think Disintegration as the first one was a no-brainer because of
Yeah,
Lullaby, and I think Love Song was quite early on that I'd got into that as well, and Pictures of You. So like that was a no-brainer for to begin with that one. And then Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. You look at that and you just look at the back, and there's that many
yeah.
songs.
You're
You're just
like,
like, oh, this
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. That one and that one.
this is value for money. This one.
Yeah, yeah. Totally. Did you have like a kind of reference then from like singles collections or greatest hits where you go back, or did you just kind of get what you could? And
Yeah, there was a greatest the greatest hits one that I had quite early on
yeah,
as well, like the greatest hits from like the 2000s, the one that
yeah,
had
and the
like
stars on it and stuff.
the stars on it,
Yeah,
yeah. Um so yeah, I had that and then kind of pieced together some certain eras from that. Um and yeah, it was probably, back then that I've probably found it harder to get into certain albums like Faith,
yeah.
that have
They're always the slower
massively
burn
grown on me
ones.
since then.
Yeah. I can remember just, especially when you are getting like a lump sum, you're like, I got this super fun album and then I got Faith.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's cool. I know I like it, but at the same time, I would have to always that was my go back to it when I was totally sick of playing, Japanese whispers over and over or something like that. I'm like, well, I'll give this
Yeah.
really dark album a play and we'll see. I'm like, wow, that's heavy. But then slowly that starts, becoming catchy and your favorite too. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I kind of did the same thing using Standing on a Beach as a kid because it was like you would see that song was on there. So it'd be like, when I was
Mm,
picking, if I couldn't buy more than like two albums at the time or something, and I had to choose, I'd be like, well, this one has like, Forest and Play for Today on it. So those are both rad. I'll go with that one and then come back and get the top later or something like that. So, but,
yeah, because I think the shows as well, isn't it? It's like I remember Trilogy as well being something that I'd watch sort of over and over again as
yeah,
well, because that really kind of dives you into the dark stuff.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, it's interesting. Like when I was younger, I think Bloodflowers was higher up on my
yeah,
ranking as well. But it's fallen a bit down. Not
yeah,
but yeah, it's that trilogy particularly sort of really worked for me when I was younger,
yeah, but
as a whole.
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I always feel like it helps and hurts by like putting those three albums in a pairing, or like like a
Yeah,
trilogy like that. And because yeah, that was always my problem with Blood Flowers. Like I've said a billion times, is that I kind of compared it to Pornography and Disintegration too much, and I was like, it's good, but it's not on par with those, maybe. And then over time, I'm just kind of accepted it as its own thing. So I wonder if
yeah,
it's but that was kind of like going into it as a new album that came out. I was all excited and put it on, and then I was like, I don't know, it's not quite Disintegration. That's a pretty high bar. So, but,
yeah,
but yeah, it's pretty funny. It's kind of the flip for you if you get it early on. I think people that have a lot of connection to, we've noticed that with a lot of people, like we're like if your age and what you put into it is I was just getting kind of older, like finishing up college or, something like that, so I was kind of, it didn't really, I had a ton of other shit I was into at the time when Bloodflowers came out too, but then like people that were like in high school when Bloodflowers came out or something, and I'm like, they're like, no, that album means so much to me. It came out at the perfect time when everything was falling
mm.
apart. Like, yeah, it's kind of cool how all of them kind of have their spots for everybody. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you kind of, yeah, they switch up in your mind as you go on, and
yeah.
different times, and seeing certain songs live as well. That kind of changes
Hmm.
how you see them, and how you sort of connect to them.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, it's funny you say
it's
that with
interesting as
Trilogy
well.
too, because yeah, it did sound so good revisiting that recently of like how Bloodflower sound on that, kind of like it better, I'm like, oh yeah, that has like such a cool like raw energy to it in a sense, and I've always thought like in Orange helped me a lot with the top as a kid because I really loved
Mm,
that, and like Chaz and Antonio are pretty anti the top, but I wonder if it's because I
yeah,
didn't really associate it, like I loved when they did like Piggy in the Mirror and Shake Dog Shake and stuff off of In Orange. It made me like, those songs are rad. And then I like the album version, because who knows? It's strange though that a band can do that. They don't play them drastically different live or anything, but there's just something about the energy and how well they deliver it, I guess, that really kicks it in.
Definitely. And I think the Top is a good example for that.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah, it just looks so much better. And it's not even that I hate the production or anything on the Top. It's, just kind of there, but it doesn't really seem to have that, like, kind of energy, like, I don't even know how to put it into words really, but I don't listen to the Top and be like, oh, that drum's too loud, or this is, what I mean, and too much of this or that on the vocals, or but maybe just some of the arrangements of the instruments get a little annoying, but that's a whole thing in itself. Anyway. So cool. Yeah. And then I guess as far as the live shows, when so the first one was in 2016, you said?
Yeah. So it's an interesting one for a first Cure show, because it's a bit of an infamous show. But and so you might know which one I'm about to say.
I'm starting to get a
yeah, so it was Manchester in 2016, which, I mean, it being a bit shorter than the other shows on that tour, it didn't really hurt it too much.
Yeah.
As a first show, there was a little bit of time where it was a bit like, it was amazing, but it could have been a longer show. But I mean, it was still like 2 hours and 20.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that short.
I love that they've really painted themselves into that corner now. Or if you play for 2.5 hours, people are like, "What the hell? We got the short show." Was that the main? Yeah, I always try to remember the details of that. So it was more that it just was kind of short and abrupt, and a little bit weirdness with some dialogue in between. But the actual playing and stuff was on. Was it?
Yeah, it was amazing, and I think, the performance-wise, I didn't really find two things. There was something happening that I could kind of pick up on to do with Robert, and I'm not sure. I think his voice actually sounded really interesting, but towards the end, I think something was happening with it, and he was like clutching his chest a bit more. Is something that I noticed, and then when he did sort of end quite short, I was thinking, was something happening with his voice, or was he a sound? Yeah, there's a few different things that different people say.
Yeah. And, interesting. Yeah, maybe it just wasn't clicking, you could totally see that being one night you're just kind of not hitting it, and then a combination of that and some other factors, something pissed him off backstage before, so it's just like, what? So...
Yeah, but as a show, it was pretty interesting as well. I mean, with Sinking, highlight from that show, which is quite a rarity, and there was quite a few top songs from that, including like "Give Me It," which is just absolutely unhinged, and some strange ones. Yeah. So who knows? It was why it kind of finished early. There was also a thing on Setlist FM that said that they ordered all the set lists to be destroyed. So
he wanted all the set lists had been destroyed after this.
Apparently, the band had said for all the set lists to be destroyed, and so there's no record of what the set was supposed to be.
Okay,
what was happened. Kind of So there's no record of what was not heard, which is probably good, because if I'd seen it and it was like something amazing.
I guess they just didn't want everyone to know what they cut out and cut short, and that's an odd move for them though. You think they wouldn't give a shit at that point? It'd just be like, whatever, But it's like, well, that's pretty cool though. Yeah, it's good. It's always good to be a part of the weird ones too, So awesome. So then, when was the next one at a festival then? Or?
Kind of. So it was the Hyde Park 40th anniversary show. So it was kind of like a day festival with all the other bands on, but we're still, decent sort of length Cure show at the end. So it was
epic one.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Cool, awesome. So did the film capture it pretty accurately, or as far as you?
Yeah, it's always weird, isn't it, when you watch like the
The
recording,
movie version of yeah.
yeah, because you just remember things differently, and just like I feel like the way the actual band sound live,
Yeah.
it never is kind of done full justice on recordings.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's something as well, the way it kind of like the sound kind of goes like through you when
Yeah.
you're live, and it's just so like immersive in that way. But yeah, it was as hot as it looked, which is especially for an English crowd. You can probably see everyone just like dying in the crowd.
Yeah, everyone seems a little too anxious for the sun to go down. It's like the first like how many songs? It's a pretty good chunk of songs. It was like the first 8 songs or something, or in like the daylight, and he's cringing and everybody's sweating. Looked beautiful, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, all right, now the show can start. The sun's set. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's weird too. I always feel like it's kind of like reading a book and then seeing the movie. Like the only real experience I had with that was my first Wish show as a kid, where maybe it was just so long ago now that I feel like that the memory of the show has kind of just mutated into the show film, whereas because everything was kind of in the same place, but I had like really crappy seats, so now I've just filled in the gaps in my memory with the film, close-up shots of everybody all the things. So I'm like, I wonder if it's really that accurate, because I remember he was wearing like the exact same thing and everything on that tour as the show I saw. It wasn't that specific show, but they were all fairly similar, So yeah, it's kind of a bummer that way, where you have your pure memory, and then Hyde Park is probably squeezing in over the years. You'll just be like, yep, I remember that sweeping shot of Jason on drums. But that's cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's another good epic one to add to your list there. What was the third then before? That one must have been a 2019 festival.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was at the Glasgow Summer Sessions in 2019. So it was like, which was really cool as well, because you had like Mogwai and things before them, and it was another amazing show.
Cool.
I think and that was like the one pretty standard for that year.
Yeah.
Had got Just One Kiss and Last Dance as like the two kind of rarer ones, and the rest of the set was pretty much
it was strange that they stuck to that formula, but it was a good set, so it was hard to argue it, but at the same time it was definitely odd. They don't do that very often, where they stick it to the to the pattern that religiously. I was like, all right, cool. So pretty rad. Wow, yeah. So that complements the 3 you saw last year pretty good, man. That's a good batch. So, like you're saying, it's cool to double your number in 1 year. So that's what I'm looking to add a big chunk on this next tour, where I haven't really traveled around to see them much, So I've always kind of just saw them when they come to my city. So this will be the first time I've kind of followed them a little bit on the East Coast. So inflate the stats.
That's the thing with America being so big. It's quite a travel to actually get to the different shows much of the time.
Disappear from my family for like a week, like, Daddy's going on the road now. I guess before we move on to our dream scenarios, then, do you feel like anything has changed drastically from when you first got into The Cure versus now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm incredibly grateful that The Cure just happened to be as well, just in perfect form live, and their shows are incredible, and that they pretty much don't disregard any era of their lineup, really, because they go right back to the first album. They do all the dark stuff, but they still played Last Day of Summer on this tour, so even the modern era gets some look in. And it's just great, because there's just so many bands that that does happen, and kind of things change and perceptions change, and it's just good that nothing Robert Smith seems like such a decent guy as well that nothing's really harmed their reputation in that way.
There's definitely some obvious comparisons to other people from that era that have kind of shit on the legacy of them. And Robert is definitely, almost to the point now where I'm worried he's so cool that, it's like he just needs to ride it out just for a little bit longer. He's gotten even cooler as he's gotten older, it seems. If anything, he was kind of a snotty performer when he was younger and said some stuff in the press, anything I didn't really agree with, but just that he would kind of shit on other bands and stuff pretty freely when he was younger. But he just seems like such a class act now, which is I'm just so grateful. Like you're saying, we really have lucked out as they've gotten older. Not only has he gotten cooler, but they've performed so well, even a lot of other bands just kind of struggle up there, you can tell, that are older, and you're like, it still sounds good enough, If I have a few beers, they'll sound just like the old days, but I mean, I was listening to Bootleg from Wish era, and he fucking sounds better now than he did on that. It was great, but he was definitely just a little bit more like lethargic and just having a slow night or something. In '92, he was like sounded like an older man than he does now. It's like the dude can sing his ass off now, and so that's pretty impressive, and like you said, just the range of what they do and the longer shows and song selection. It's really a win-win everywhere. So. And
it's always a good argument against the Cure, Robert Smith versus Morrissey.
Yeah, exactly. People aren't really bringing that up these days much. Like, who's cooler? Who's going to win the long term? And it's like, I think we all know now. It's pretty official. It's pretty cool. We thought it'd be fun to, since all these live shows are going to pop up again, and like we were just saying, with the diversity of their set list and stuff. Actually, Tom, that's also in the Patreon, Tom Johnson, had sent in a side suggestion for an episode to make it all Dream related before we even started talking, like just because of all the Dream references and lyrics and things that you could touch back to just Dreams in general with the Cure. There's just like a whole gold mine of that, or just the titles, the dreaminess of the videos or whatever. So that'll be a side episode off to the side that we can delve into. I hadn't quite fleshed that one out yet on the idea side, but on this one we're going with straight up perfection Dream set list to kick it off, and we're also going to do a nightmare set list of your ideal if you went to go see them live, what would be the ideal set list, and then the one where you go, this is a weird night. not my ideal night, but we also thought, we can't just rattle off a bunch of B-sides and shit. We got to set some rules for ourselves. So we said we'll make it semi-realistic. Actually, very realistic. But we gave ourselves 3 wild cards of ones that pretty much guaranteed they would never play. But we can sprinkle in 3 of those songs. And we made it a 30-song set list. Kind of close to the last tour. Was mostly like 27 was the average. Then we gave ourselves a few because some of those new songs are like 10 minutes long, and so you could probably get a couple more in there. So we did, I scheduled about, if you didn't do yours this way, that's fine, but I did it like 18 songs for the main set, then 4 for the encore, then like the 5 or 7 pop ones at the end. So a bigger chunk for the second encore, but ultimately just 30 songs in whatever order. So does that sound roughly like the plan you followed too?
Yeah, I got 30. The encore sort of main set split's a bit different,
Sweet.
But the 30 songs are still the same, roughly the same.
Awesome. Well, I think you should kick it off. I'll breeze through mine real fast since I'm always babbling about my ideal set list, but I couldn't not play along too. So I want to hear your set list first, though. So what did you get? Walk us through it.
Well, I'll go through it. I can go through it quickly, and then we can break it apart if there's anything you want to particularly mention about it. To open it, I've put as Plain Song.
Right on.
The perfect opener, in my opinion. Second, A Letter to Elise.
Nice.
Third, Push.
Yeah.
And then M.
Cool.
And One More Time.
Nice.
Then Siamese Twins. The Drowning Man.
Yeah.
Lullaby, Sinking, A Strange Date, Charlotte Sometimes, The Figurehead, then Close to Me, Play for Today, Prayers for Rain, The Same Deep Water as You, and then Disintegration to close the main set.
Nice.
So closing the main set with
That's
the Holy
rad.
Trilogy.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. You put them in the row. That was
Yeah.
Chaz is always praising that as the best 3 Cure songs in a row. I think.
Yeah,
I have to agree.
I think that might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, and I got a lot of similarities too. I think, but that's definitely solid. You got some pop numbers in there, and a lot of the classic dark ones, but still keeping it very realistic. Yeah, I guess One More Time would probably be the absolute rarest out of that batch, probably, right? But definitely a few they need to bring back more frequently, I think. So, good call.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Nothing dwells too long, too. You know, when I was starting to put all the sad bastard ones together, I'm like, yeah, everybody will like fucking die if I put all these together. Just like 6 in a row of the downer ones.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've spoken a bit too soon.
Yeah, well, you can do it for the encores. That's always like fair game for the encore. Just destroy this whole stadium. So what do you got for that first encore?
So for the first encore, start with 17 seconds.
Okay.
Then The Funeral Party.
Okay.
Then Cold.
Nice.
Then If Only Tonight We Could Sleep.
Yeah.
Then Faith. And then Untitled. That's the first encore. So I got 6 songs for that encore.
That'll work.
6, the darkest.
Yeah,
the darkest.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's you can hear Chaz going, "Oh, if only tonight we could sleep."
Yeah. I know, it's a shame he's not on to,
you need some
to argue that.
Yeah, exactly. You need some kind of buffer between Cold and Faith, though. So that's good. It's a nice, just chill song, but not quite jump into the abyss. Like those.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good way to follow Faith, too. That's our never-ending argument of, like, do you just end the set with Faith? How do you follow Faith? They had a couple, I think, where they did something after it, but Untitled is, again, feels a little bit more of a closer, too. So,
Yeah, Untitled and Faith are probably, definitely right at the top of my list, and it was amazing getting to see Faith in Glasgow.
Yeah,
but
so was in there.
Untitled would be another dream if that. It's a rare one.
They need to bring that back. I guess it's tough to have too many closers in the set. Every song's like this epic finale. But awesome, cool. So did you have another encore after that?
So the last encore. To Wish Impossible Things.
Nice.
And then The Exploding Boy.
Yeah.
And then followed by In Between Days. To put the A and the B side together.
Yeah.
Just Like Heaven.
Cool.
Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
A Forest. And then Pictures of You as the final song.
Finale, nice.
Just quite a strange one, but I had the idea of it'd be interesting to have a song that kind of bridges the gap between, it's kind of is accessible, it is a single, but it's also kind of reflective of the Cure's overall sound.
Totally, and epic enough where you could. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but that it would be a good closer. Really, that's pretty rad, and it fits well with all those top classics of In Between Days, Just Like Heaven and Boys Don't Cry. Pictures, they're all in the key of A too. I don't know. So, just stay in A for all of it. But that's rad. I guess following that, did you like the 7 pop songs at the end on the last tour format? I kind of dig that. I think that's a cool approach. Like the big classic pop ones as the finale.
Yeah, I think it's really good doing it that way.
Cool.
Especially with the ones ones they did use, going in
Yeah.
between days, and just like Heaven at the end was I think really really good. And
Yeah, kind of surprising
yeah,
they
like
haven't done that until, last year. It seems like that
yeah,
would have been like, what every band's like big saving the big ones for the end, kind of thing.
yeah.
That's
I
cool.
think it's always funny when um you're in a show and you overhear people who don't know about like the Cure's encores,
Yeah,
and they go
yeah.
up for and they think, oh well, so they're going to do another song. They're going to
Yeah, yeah,
come back
like
and do one
Jesus,
more
are they
song.
still going? It's all the girlfriends that got dragged there and stuff. I was like, this thing ever gonna end? Jeez. But yeah, it's pretty funny too. And that idea of that, there probably is a handful of people at every Cure show that just came to hear just like Heaven, and
Yeah,
they like have to sit through like 2.5 hours, they're sitting there waiting. It's like they're really gonna play this last. Great. But yeah, that's a hell of a set list. I would definitely enjoy that one quite a bit, as most of them will transfer over to mine too. But very cool order, and yeah, now you got to make a playlist of that, I think, too. I think that'd be pretty rad.
yeah, definitely.
All seems very doable. They can do this. I bet Robert could crank this out like tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the conversation of like what songs the different band members choose, and
Yeah.
like what the process is of working it out. Because at the on the third Wembley show, before the first encore, um, Robert Smith said something along the lines of, "This is going to be a set of songs we don't play often,"
Yeah.
and then everyone cheered. And then he said something like, "Oh, don't get your hopes up." And then he said that he was he was fighting for the drowning man, but he was outvoted.
Ah.
He actually said that, and I was like, at
Nice.
that time, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
why tell us that? Just
Yeah,
play
yeah.
it.
Everyone's like, oh. But just the members that didn't vote for it are like, oh. But I'm surprised they get a vote. Maybe, yeah. I thought he kind of just.
Yeah,
I figured they probably all worked out together which ones to rehearse, so they're not all totally in the dark. But then I thought he was kind of like, no, we're playing this, everybody. So. See, I mean, in his old age, he's getting more diplomatic too. So this is great.
yeah.
So,
There's another clip as well where he said it was another show, and he said, um, who wrote this set list, and then he pointed to Simon.
ah, it's like, yeah,
So I
guilty.
don't know,
Yeah,
maybe
maybe it's just.
Simon has a big role in
Yeah,
it.
that's pretty cool. So, yeah, I think they probably have like their two or three at least that they've probably each member's like, ugh, great, we're playing Love Cats again, or something like that. So like if they do get say that night, they can scratch that one at least, So
Yeah,
there's bound to be ones they're a little sick of, but yeah, I don't know. If I was in a band, I'd feel pretty fortunate that you have all these songs to choose from. It's pretty good.
yeah,
But cool, man. Well, I love it. You did great with that. And I guess I'll read through mine real quick here, but we don't need to dwell on anything too long just to see because there were a lot of comparisons. I had as my opener technically would be Plain Song, but since I still haven't seen Alone yet, I want to hear the new one. Open it up. That would be pretty cool. So I put Alone as the opener. Then I kept it super realistic and went into Pictures of You right after that. Nice and early. Always sets the mood good. Then Catch would be my third song. Keep it kind of poppy early. And then Just One Kiss. And then Siamese Twins, like you had. Pretty safe there. Last Day of Summer after that. And then M, also on mine. And then I liked how on the last tour they paired Play for Today and then into Push. Or maybe it was vice versa. But I like having those two back to back so you get the full chanting along and everything for both of us.
yeah,
And this was my almost rarest one, but it's a stretch. 6 Different Ways, which they played a lot around Head on the Door, but haven't played it much or at all, I think, since Jason's joined the band, I think. But so yeah, I'd love to hear 6 Different Ways again. And then Burn, since Jason will be warmed up by that point, he can tear it up on Burn. To Wish Impossible Things also made my list, and Into Funeral Party as well. So then, yeah, I kind of broke the rule here. So this just gets really bummer stretch of the main set. So we have Funeral Party, Into I Can Never Say Goodbye, that new one that I really want to hear live, Into Sinking, and then I got Same Deep Water as You following Sinking, and then Disintegration, the song, and then end with Untitled as well. So there's like 4 closers basically in a row there. Epic bummer songs, but yeah, end it with Untitled. And then for the first encore, I almost did similar to you. I had him come out with In Between Days as the first one, and I was just going to do the full single, you know? So I had him In Between Days, then Exploding Boy, and then follow up with A Few Hours After This. Is my super rare. That'll never happen, but it would be fun to daydream.
Yeah.
And then finish out that encore with another rare one of 1,000 Hours. I always loved that song, but probably never going to play it. I don't think they ever have. Yeah, it was like either once or never when we looked it up. So I was like, what? Yeah. It's so beautiful. Why would they never play that? So then there's that and encore, and then I stuck to the pop closer, which some of these aren't really my full choice, but I just assumed that my kiddo would be with me, and he would want to hear Close to Me, Kick It Off, and then Into Caterpillar, and then Into Love Cats. Those are his top 3 favorite Cure songs. So got to include those for him. Then Into Letter to Elise, Just Like Heaven, and then Boys Don't Cry. But then I want to end it on a down note with Faith. And then instead of totally ending with Faith, I had one left over, so I put a Forest at the very end. So I figure we could bounce back from Faith with Forest and maybe do the Forest / Forever ending just to get every minute's worth of epic weirdness. So yeah, that's my full list there. So I'm not super realistic on mine where they would go long single in the middle and then that much of a downer in the main set, but it's my dream, so right.
Yeah, it was a good list. There was a lot in there that I toyed with as well, like 1,000 Hours. I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
You know, that would be great to hear, but again, yeah, it's only been once, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's
and A Few Hours After This has never been played either, so I think that one definitely needs to come out. That one's really cool. But yeah, a lot of crossover. We had quite a few that were on the same, just shuffled around into a different spot. So sounds good, man. I guess we should get into this nightmare before it gets too late too. So this one was funny because obviously opinions will vary, but we like to kick the hornet's nest here on the Holy Hour and piss off at least a few people each episode. So this is our nightmare. You finally went through all the Ticketmaster bullshit. You got your ticket. You're ready to see The Cure. They come out and not your preferred song listing. So 30 songs, which is, I was surprised that even with mine, I was like, I'd still enjoy this show, but it's just not very good as far as a Cure show. What you got?
Yeah, I think I've went off in maybe a different direction.
Yeah, you just went full like covers. Did you?
I basically just I think it's really hard to try and actually think of like 30 actually bad songs.
Yeah.
So I kind of just went as far with it as possible in terms of like unrealistic.
Okay, yeah, mine's pretty unrealistic too. But what did you get?
But this is completely unrealistic, and there's a few things in there that are just kind of funny little things.
Little nod.
So the first opening is Lost.
Ooh, yeah.
Lost. Which, I don't actually mind Lost too much in compared to like a lot of the self-titled.
Yeah,
but
it's actually...
I just thought, well, I'll go with an opening track, and that's the worst one. So.
Exactly. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, it's the first one on mine too. So it was the same approach. I was like, well, of all the opening tracks, this is definitely the worst. But,
yeah. And then the second track is Round and Round and Round.
Nice.
And then Just Say Yes.
Nice.
Never liked that one.
That one should have been on mine too.
And then I've got Why Can't I Be Me?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I've got NY Trip,
Oh
New
yeah.
York Trip. If you can remember that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And then I've got Switch.
Nice.
And then number 7, I've technically a cover of a Robert Smith only song, Witchcraft.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very similar to mine, except I tried to be like, well, I'll try to keep it even more realistic and not put, that one on there, but definitely was on my list. I had to scratch it off that. A couple
Yeah.
other those compilation ones.
I think a funny fact about that is that I think that may have been the first song to be released after I became like a fan.
Yeah,
So
like the new,
comes out
Oh,
is
yeah, I remember being real excited that was coming out. I was like, finally, something new, awesome. And I was like, yeah. It's like, okay. Robert got drunk in the basement studio and recorded this. Awesome.
And then for the next track, I've just got like a funny one, just as the Love Cats, but it's just the cat noises.
Nice. Meow.
And then next I've got Hey You.
Yeah.
And then next I've got Frogfish. I think that's what
Oh, yeah, Frogfish. Shit, I forgot about Frogfish. Live debut of Frogfish. Oh.
Yeah, if that's what he chooses to play for the Wish.
Yeah, to represent Wish. Everyone's like, we're going to go get a pretzel at the concession stand. Just walking around in the back.
And then next, Return.
Nice.
And then next is Never.
Yeah. Side funny story, my brother has like one of those satellite radio for his car. He just got like a new car. It has one of those like Sirius satellites or something. Yeah, they have like alternative station or something, and they were playing and Never popped up, and he sent me a screenshot of it. He's like, is this a new Cure song? What the hell is this? I was like, no man, it's just the shittiest song ever, pretty much. It's like you haven't heard it for a reason. It's he's like, oh, okay, good, because I was like, this is pretty bad. I don't he thought it was like a new Cure song because he just totally was not on his radar. I'm like, yep. So what'd you follow Never with?
The Real Snow White. And then followed that by Foxy Lady.
Nice.
And then after that, I've got just wrote Happy Birthday to You because of the
just singing Happy Birthday to somebody. Yeah.
Well, they did that in one of the sets in 2022, and it was actually listed on Setlist FM as its own song.
True, yeah. It makes it fair game, right? It's like, it's canon. It's part of their set.
And then It's Over.
So,
and then I thought, just as another like funny one, just Disintegration, but it's just the sound of the breaking glass.
The sample button gets stuck or something. Yeah. Nice.
So that's it. That's the main set.
That's the main set. Awesome. Whew. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to top with the encores. What you got for the encore there? Coming back for more.
Opening the one that is probably the most realistic because it has happened not too long ago. Freak Show.
Nice.
And then I put maybe a bit harsh, but Never Enough.
Yeah. You have a couple of those where I'm like, it's not. It'll be the highlight of this horrible set when you throw one like that in. You're like, sweet, awesome, Never Enough.
And then again, maybe a bit harsh on this one as well, but So What?
Yeah. Yeah, that could be cute at the right time and place, but in the middle of this dreadful nightmare, I don't think that's going to save the set. So, yeah, So What?
And then I've got The Scream.
Nice. Yeah. Oof.
and then Fake to end the first
Fake.
encore.
Yeah. Nice. Forgot about that one too.
Yeah, that's how you want to end an encore
Yeah,
on a song of
totally.
BPM.
Fake. Cool. So yeah, I can't imagine how you're gonna top that for the finale. What do we got?
I like the idea if he announced Fake as well. People might mishear him and think he said
Yeah,
Fake.
this is fake. Everyone's like, yay, finally. It's like that fake. Ah. It's totally.
Yeah, so start the next encore with Down Under.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't utilize those later B sides, man. So you did good with that. I've just mentally blocked all those out. It's like, oh shit, forgot about those.
Yeah, I used every single one, I think.
Yeah, those are bad. I was like,
And then I've got This Here and Now with You,
yeah.
which I think is probably the worst Robert Smith vocal maybe ever.
Yeah, gets a little.
Yeah. And then I've got I Don't Know What's Going On.
Right.
Which isn't that bad, I guess, compared to some of them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of those they have like good parts. Like it gets like catchy for like a chorus, but the verse is kind of stupid. I feel like, or it's vice versa, where the verse is kind of cool, but then it'll do something really just ridiculous for the chorus. You know. So, but
Yeah. And then the next one I've got If Only Tonight We Could Sleep, but it's just the scraping of the pick on the guitar.
nice. Pick scrape. They did one of those. What are they called? Where they kind of overdub poorly they have like a video. What's it called? It's almost like the bad lip syncing things, but they do them. They had a name for a while. Everybody was making fake videos. We have them like from the Unplugged, I think it was, and they're doing If Only Tonight We Could Sleep, but they're just like scratching the thing, and it's like, it's just like makes it sound so horrible. But so it's pretty funny. But what else you got?
After that, I've got Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And then after that, I've got, technically a song, 20-second tease of Robert Smith singing the words from Pictures of You,
20
just to make it more painful, but it isn't played.
20-second. Oh, just a teaser of it, like just the first 20 seconds of pictures.
Yeah, you know how he did on this tour with the Blood, where he like sang. Yeah, and then the best finale, the best final song that you could have, the Weedy Burton.
Weedy Burton, yep. Awesome. Yeah, that's the best finale. So everyone's like, okay. Yeah, I like that the 20-second pictures these like second to last too. It's like building up right before.
Yeah,
perfect timing for that. So. Well, luckily, I think we've seen him pretty smashed at shows and a few bootlegs out there, and it's never gone this bad, so I think we're safe. But this would be pretty epic, even if it was pretty painful. I think everyone would be like, wow, we definitely witnessed something historical tonight. The one bad Cure show ever. So, yeah, a lot of crossovers again with mine. Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't utilize the B-sides from the later albums. So a few of them might be a little bit more arguable. People are like, that's a good song. So we'll see. We'll get some hate mail off of this maybe. But I would also kick it off with Lost just because it's an opener. You know, Underneath the Stars is rad. So really the only album that has a kind of debatable opener is probably Lost. So let's kick it off with that. And then to go into everybody's favorite follow-up song with Club America, number 2. And then Round and Round and Round would be the next one on my list too. And then I put Labyrinth there at 4. Even though technically I'm right with the song, it just goes on so long and doesn't seem to go anywhere. So the number 5 slot on this show would be Watching Me Fall. So everyone's just like about to get into the groove of the show, and then watching me fall. Followed by Numb off of Wild Mood Swings, which I know some people like, but that one always just kind of bugged me. So for my own personal gripes, I put Numb in there. Followed by Dread Song, an obscure one there. So from the Judge Dredd soundtrack. Was never a personal favorite. They try to keep it poppy by putting Return next, but followed by Hey You, and then into Us or Them, which always at times seemed all right, but then he just starts yelling and just gotta calm down, Robert. And then I have him doing the Hansa after that, so do the Hansa, and just as all the giggles calm down, they launch into Switch, and everybody gets super bored again and goes and gets a beer. Comes back to their seats just in time for Meat Hook. This is the oldie block here. Meat Hook into So What, and then topping that off with Foxy Lady. So again, touching on the old not so great in this context. Like if we just put them in a good set, they would all be fine, but followed in this context. Signal to Noise I put after that, which is actually a pretty decent song, but it's just one I can never remember, really. So it's just like, that song. So, and Where the Birds Always Sing has been kind of one that I always wanted to like more than I really do, but so that would be like, ugh. And then as the set winds down, I do the lethal combo of Never into Promise to finish it up, because I think both those together really utilize their what? He's just screaming at us for 15 minutes straight. so ends strong with Never Promise. And then they decide to lighten things up for the encore, which Why Can't I Be You would be fine, but he's going to do the medley version again, like they did in the Swing Tour for a while there, where he does Witchcraft might be in the middle of that with some snippets of Love Cats or something, and doesn't really work. This is the highlight of the show, is where they play Empty World, but that was never really one that I get too excited for. When Empty World into Wendy Time, with an extra funky middle, where they maybe a Frogfish Wendy Time medley again. These are all medleys in this portion, maybe. And then that encore ends with It's Over. So just kind of of the long shouty ones. That one's probably the coolest, but that one's still kind of annoying. So then for the big finale on my Nightmare set, I have them coming out. This is a little unrealistic, but they open with a cover of Young Americans. So, which is pretty bad. And then into Purple Haze, the fast version, which, followed by Freak Show, into Alt End, into Reason Why, and then finishing with the Scream and Weedy Burton. So, also the only way you can really end this is with Weedy Burton, I think. So Scream into Weedy Burton, I think, would be a really good combo, so they really fit well together. So.
I think one thing you can guarantee is everyone would be absolutely hammered at these shows.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be concession stand sales were through the roof for some reason. Everybody was just So yeah, a lot of similarities to yours. I think it's kind of funny too. We would just swap out different ones from self-titled and 413 of which ones you are a little more about. It's the real Snow White or Reasons Why. I don't know. Some of those just have different on the wrong day. They just bug me more than the others. But I don't think I put Snow White on mine. That one does bug me too. It's good once it gets going, but it has a really dumb verse, right? Isn't that the one that's you got what I want? Is that one? You got what I want. It's But awesome job, man. So everybody out there, you got to think about this next time you're in a waiting room at the hospital or something. You can jot down your nightmare scenario. It's a good time suckage when you're just sitting there going, ooh, oh yeah, that would be bad. That would be real bad. So jot down your 30 nightmare songs for the tour. But along those lines too, we thought it'd be cool to top it off with who's your dream and nightmare opener band. for this tour? Like your ideal opener and your, oh God, anybody but them. Who would you choose?
Um, well, it's weird, isn't it? Do you go realistic with this?
Yeah, I know. I kind of have alt choices and then like the funny choice, but let's hear both.
Yeah,
Why not? What do you
I
got?
think I think New Order would be amazing.
Yeah,
I think especially if they also, lent and did some of like a blended set list of Joy Division and New Order, it
yeah.
would be kind of perfect to set the mood and of the show. And I think it's possible now that
They,
Peter Hook isn't in New
yeah, they
Order.
could actually get along and make it through a tour together. Yeah.
It's also quite a strange one that would never happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought of like Kate Bush as well would be a cool
Yeah.
one. Um, and yeah, it's hard to think of like who else would be kind of like a good one, really.
Yeah.
I do like Twilight Sad, to be
Yeah,
honest. I
yeah,
think
yeah. As much
they're
as we
really
joke
good.
on it, even we're like, "Oh, here they go again." It's like they are really good, and it works perfect for the set. So I can see how they would just be like, "Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's keep them." So,
Yeah, especially things like I can't remember if it was 2018 or 2019. That album that they released, I think, was, like it'd be like much better than any of the older stuff
yeah,
to my ear anyway. And
yeah,
I think Robert Smith did advise on that in some way.
yeah,
They didn't say he produced it, but he advised apparently.
yeah.
And it does. There's songs and it does like proper. You can hear almost as if Robert's like playing on some songs. I don't think he is, but they definitely picked up some sounds, I think, from touring with them for so long.
Yeah, it definitely shows. Who would be the worst case scenario band, do you think? I mean, there's possibilities are endless, really, but
Yeah, I thought of a funny one, but it's not really necessarily actually the biggest nightmare. But
yeah.
just with Paul Weller, with what he recently said about Rose.
Yeah, that'd be good. Just to see the tension building. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much hatred.
But of someone who's like modern and like I hear, do you know of the singer that's like quite popular at the moment called like George Ezra?
No, I don't think so. George Ezra.
Whenever you'll have heard songs on at times, and I just think because Robert Smith is like the epitome of the most expressive and voice, and George Ezra's voice is just constantly grates on me whenever I hear it. It's just the most flattest.
Yeah,
so I just thought that would be. I just think it would be the biggest contrast possible between the voice.
Choice. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to really be realistic and see, like, I guess if it was just dreadful, it wouldn't really matter. But yeah, the idea of it just being the moods being drastically different and like, what is going on? Why are we? So, pretty funny. I love it. Mine were pretty similar again. I think my dream ultimate opener would be New Order, of course, if we're being unrealistic. But then I like the idea of like smaller bands. I would love if he had Darcy Rama open for him. That's his nephew, Janet and Pearl's kid. There, he's putting out some really rad songs. I definitely recommend to everybody out there, go check out. It's Darcy, D-A-R-C, Rama, I guess, R-A-M-A. His name's Darcy. I think it has a band called Drowning Boy at one point too, but I don't know if he's just doing the Darcy Rama stuff now, but that would be rad. I could see why he wouldn't want to kind of ride on the coattails of Uncle Robert, and just kind of do his own thing at the same time. I would love it. And if I can't lock that down, I would have to go with our friends of the show, House of Harm, their band here up in Boston area, and I think that would be great. And just knowing that would be they'd be into it, they would probably agree to do that tour, I would assume. So yeah, that would be a cool match, just sonically and musically. I think would be really cool. So I'm voting for those guys, and My nightmare scenario would probably be Korn, because then they would have to like ruin In Between Days by doing a duet every night. so I'm just not a big Korn fan. Even Unplugged aside, they just never did it for me. But I know that they're very big and got a lot of people into The Cure, so I'm grateful for that at least. But yeah. If you've heard any past episodes, I tend to frown upon that experience and era. So Korn is my nightmare scenario. It's quite deceiving as I'm feeling the flesh make me bad. So, we had a couple others. How about a conversation with Robert Smith? Did you get a minute to brainstorm that? If you could have your dream scenario of the conversation, it's guaranteed to go wonderfully too. So there's no like possibility of you're talking about your favorite band aside from The Cure, and he shits all over it and makes fun of you in front of everybody. So it's a guaranteed. It's gonna go smoothly, but it would be fun to talk to Robert. What would you chat him up about?
It's like I remember seeing an interview with Robert Smith, and he was talking about how he never get he's always asked questions, so he never gets to ask questions. So I think it would be good to have a two-way conversation about something that he likes, or that we could sort of find some common ground and not just completely hammer him of tell me about
pictures of you. Every real detail of pictures of you.
So if you had a 30-minute conversation, I think that would be possible. Whereas if you were just meeting them, you just want to just kind of gushing about the band. But and I saw he had like a kind of Razorhead t-shirt or one of things. So I'd probably see if he was into like David Lynch and what films he was into, and kind of find some common ground there would be cool.
Yeah, good thinking. Yeah, I think that's always the best. A few big celebrity encounters with other bands or anything, I've always taken that angle more. If you just talk about something they like too, and you could both just talk about that, and that'd be like, so thank you for saving my life, man. Freaking him out, It's like, I'd be nothing without your music. And it's a good angle. I did the same again, like that, pretty much. I was like, that'd be pretty rad just to talk about Star Wars with him. And just totally nerd out about Star Wars with Robert Smith would be pretty rad. I don't know where he lands on any of it. Back in the Wish program, he mentioned he liked the originals, I'm assuming, but... So even if he wants to rip on the prequels and stuff, I'm right there with him. That'd be a fun conversation. Or I guess along those lines, a book, I don't think we have too much crossover. The few books I've read that he recommended are kind of like, he's a little smarter than me, I think. I can't get through most of the ones he's recommended. I'm just like, those Gorman gas ones, man. Whew, they're rough. I've tried a bunch of times, so I'm still not getting through that thing. But, maybe The Little Prince or something back there. That's my favorite. That seems like a good one we could hash out together. Cool. So what would be the horrible nightmare conversation that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking about this with Robert Smith. This is going horribly wrong.
I was thinking about what you mentioned before. I guess that's kind of what I was thinking as well, is just him hating on everything.
Making fun of you and shit.
And it's a interesting thing. Or him just, it's that thing, you don't meet your heroes. If you just turned out to be this, like, you're just dead rude and like Morrissey.
He's like, go get me a fucking Coke out of the refrigerator, you piece of shit. It's like, whoa, Jesus. Just saying all this racist shit backstage or something. You're just like, wow, this guy's an asshole. What's going on here? I was trying to think on that, and I guess mine boiled down to anything like legal action with the podcast. You need to shut this shit down. How dare you make this podcast? I'd be like, really? I thought I was just like basically kissing ass for like 200 episodes. He's like, nah, we're shutting this down, man. So that would be my nightmare scenario, I guess. But it's like, I listened to that. Even if he just said he listened to it and it was horrible, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But just don't sue me or totally rag on it, you know. So yeah, whew, hopefully that'll never happen. I think pretty good chance that we won't cross paths. So I think we're good. So I guess so we can't end on a negative note. We should end on a positive thing that actually did happen. So yeah, what was your favorite set list of the 6 shows you've seen to date?
I think it's gonna have to go with Night 2 of Wembley.
Yeah.
I think there's just something about that performance. It might have also been like possibly influenced by all the stress that happened like the week before, knowing like could we even get there, and then the thing that was happening with his voice where he'd got like a cold before, and wondering, you know, is that going to like escalate and then the show's going to be cancelled, or is he going to like lose his voice?
Yeah, just kind of toughen through it where he's just not really on point, you know, but you're all like, yay, good job.
Yeah.
but he delivered.
And then just seeing it and it being just perfect, and his voice being perfect, and getting the figurehead and the prayers for rain with the amazing scream and prayers for rain and all those like incredible moments and that, and even though the third night was amazing too, with the extra songs that we got on that night, and M and Trust and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to choose, but yeah, this current like tour, you've got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm real psyched, man. Awesome. Cool that they changed it up different nights too, right? So that was what we were all kind of waiting for when the tour started. You know, was it going to be like 2019? Yeah, maybe they just entered that stage of their career now. They just
yeah. So that was good, and then the new songs. You know, I kind of for the Dream set list, I tried to be like, right, okay, I'm just going to put I'm not going to put any of the new songs in. I kind of made that ruling, but you know, I definitely Alone and End Song are both amazing, and so is And Nothing Is Forever. Yeah. They're all pretty amazing. Yeah. I only saw A Fragile Thing once.
Okay.
Because they stopped playing it that much towards the end for some reason.
Did they cut it out?
Yeah, I think it was just a couple of the shows in the UK. They just for some reason they didn't play it. I don't know if they were just trying to make room for other things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our big wonder leading into this tour, is if they're going to keep all those or just a couple of them, or add any new ones in. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm dying to see those new ones. I technically should have had them on my list, but you know, it's just because they're new. You know, I was like, we gotta stick to the classics for this experiment. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. Can't wait to hear them. So cool, man. Well, I guess we'll wrap up there, and really appreciate you talking and being a part of this podcast and the Patreon and the whole works, and sharing your contributions early on last tour. And we'll try to do our best to continue coverage in the U.S. and North America tour here for everybody that isn't visiting. So yeah, it's bound to be some cool stuff on the horizon. But thank you so much for making the time to talk on the weekend here too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. It's been really fun. It's been good.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get you back in here again soon, hopefully with the full crew, and we can hash out a specific weird topic we'll come up with. Robert Smith's shoes. We still haven't officially done that episode. We're going to talk about all shoes. But we would love to have you back, man. It's been an awesome time talking. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Cool. So we'll say talk hard and take it easy out there to everyone. Inside the empty feeling, all the nighttime leaves me free, imaginary voice singing my sweet child on moon, well train your mind. All right. right, again, a very special thank you to Tom Burns and to you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to be cool like Tom, now that you know him personally, you should join him in the club over at patreon.com/The Holy Hour Podcast. That's where our Patreon hangs out. And Tom is over there. He wouldn't steer you wrong. He seems like a cool dude, right? So join the club. Hang out with Tom and others like Francisco and John Roberts and Letty and Tom Johnson, Matt Ford, Coulter, Danny, Matt, Nemesio, Dione, Alan, Allison, John, Ben, Sue, Jeff Cortland Jones, Jeff Hilton, Craig, and Donna. And of course, Scott from the Sarlacc Digest. And you can catch their live shows every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube, or catch the replays everywhere you listen to podcasts. Each week they bring you quality line talk and theory crafting. Truly the perfect Star Wars podcast, no matter what level fan you are. Even when they get super nerdy, they do a great job of filling you in as the casual listener on what the hell they're talking about. So it's a super fun show. Highly recommend it. Dana is an extremely talented motion designer and animator, and you should totally check out her work at graphics.tv. That's graphics with an X.tv. There you can see her motion graphics reel and get a sampling of some of her work. You can even reach out to her if you're in need of an animator or motion designer to promote your business or project. Graphics.tv. And take Lisa's advice, go check out Dickens. It's the coolest club in Calgary. And DickensYYC.com. You can find out about all their upcoming shows and events and follow them on Twitch even at DickensYYC for all their live streaming action. And you all know and love Kate. Well, it just happens that she also runs CureThreads.com. That's the perfect spot for Cure fans like you to find all kinds of simply elegant products that feature original Cure-inspired artwork created by Kate just for you. Don't get left looking like a dingus when the Cure shows up to town. Get yourself some Cure Threads. And speaking of cool Cure shirts, 17 Seconds Shirts is where Chaz's website is at. And he has the raddest Cure shirts you won't find anywhere else. So follow him at 17_seconds on Instagram. And then you'll see when the latest designs go up for pre-order, and you'll be ready to pounce and get on that. Don't even have to be a verified fan. Everyone's welcome. No wait list. And as far as this podcast goes, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere that you listen, and follow us at the Holy Hour Podcast on Instagram. You can go on over and like our Facebook page where you can get in on discussions for each episode. And of course, you're always welcome to email me directly at gavinconnor@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. We got so much on the horizon that you want to stay tuned for. Only like 2 episodes worth before this tour starts. So it's closer than you think, guys. We can start getting nervous, start getting excited, and we'll be there the whole way with you. So look forward to it, and we'll talk to you soon. Talk hard.